How much do you earn? Most people find that question very uncomfortable, even between close friends, even between people who earn the same amount. Money is one of the most emotional topics there is. It is connected to how we feel about ourselves, our success, our worth, our future. Today, Alex and Sarah talk about money, honestly, openly, the way most people never do. They earn similar amounts, but they think about money in completely different ways. Listen to their conversation. We will look at the key phrases at the end. Let's go! Alex and Sarah earn roughly the same salary, but Alex feels constantly behind with money. Sarah feels relatively in control. Today, they are about to find out why.
You seem distracted. What is going on?
Sorry, I just got my bank statement this morning. I do not know where the money goes. I earn a decent salary. I should be fine. But every month, I end up with almost nothing left.
How much do you have left at the end of the month usually?
Almost nothing. Maybe 50 or 100. Sometimes I even dip into my overdraft in the last week.
And what do you spend it on? Do you know?
That is the thing. I do not really know. Food, rent, going out, subscriptions, it just disappears. I never feel like I am buying anything extravagant, but somehow it is always gone.
Have you ever actually tracked it? Written down everything you spend?
No, I keep meaning to, but I never do. It feels like a lot of effort.
I started doing it about 2 years ago. It completely changed how I think about money. Not because I suddenly started earning more, but because I could actually see where it was going. And once you can see it, you can make choices. Before that, you are just guessing.
What did you find when you started tracking?
That I was spending way more than I thought on small things. Coffee every day, takeaway 2 or 3 times a week, subscriptions I had forgotten about. None of it felt like a lot individually, but when I added it all up, it was nearly $400 a month, just on things I did not even think about.
400? That is significant.
It really is. And the thing is, I did not even value most of it. The subscriptions I never used. The takeaways I ordered because I was tired and could not be bothered to cook. It was not like I was spending money on things that made me genuinely happy. It was just lazy spending.
Lazy spending. That is exactly what I do. I order food because it is easier. I buy things online at midnight because they are on sale. And then I wonder why I have nothing left.
The midnight online shopping is a dangerous habit.
I know. I tell myself I am being smart because something is on sale. But I would not have bought it at full price either. So it is not really saving, it is just spending with extra steps.
That is a really good way to put it. A discount on something you did not need is not a saving. It is still spending.
So how did you change it? Did you just stop doing all those things?
Not overnight. I made a budget, which sounds very boring and grown up, but it is actually just a list of where your money goes versus where you want it to go. I looked at my income, listed all my fixed costs, rent, bills, insurance, and then decided in advance what I wanted to spend on food, going out, and personal stuff. And whatever was left, I put away at the start of the month before I could spend it.
Pay yourself first.
Exactly. If you wait until the end of the month to save what is left over, nothing is ever left over. But if you move money into savings on the day you get paid, you just learn to live on what remains.
That makes sense. But what if what remains is not enough?
Then you have a different problem. Either your income is too low or your fixed costs are too high. And that requires a different conversation about earning more or cutting bigger things like rent or a car. But most people, when they actually track their spending, find that there is more room than they thought. The problem is not the salary, it is the invisible spending.
The invisible spending. Yes, that is exactly it. I never feel like I am spending a lot, but I clearly am.
What about debt? Do you have any?
Yes, I have a credit card with about $2,000 on it. I have been carrying that balance for about a year. I pay the minimum each month, but it never really goes down.
The minimum payment trap. That is one of the most expensive mistakes people make. The interest on a credit card is usually between 20 and 30% a year. So if you are only paying the minimum, most of what you pay goes to interest, not to actually reducing what you owe.
I know that, but somehow I never get around to paying more.
Because it does not feel urgent. The minimum payment is manageable, so you pay it, feel okay about it, and move on. But in the background, the interest is quietly eating your money.
2,000 at 20% interest is 400 a year just in interest.
Exactly. You are paying £400 a year to borrow money you have already spent. That is 400 that could be going into savings or reducing the debt itself.
When you put it like that, it sounds insane.
It is. Credit card debt is one of the most expensive forms of borrowing there is. The goal should be to pay it off as fast as possible, not just maintain it.
But how? If I barely have anything left at the end of the month?
That is why the budget comes first. Once you find the invisible spending, the lazy spending, you redirect that money to the debt instead. Even an extra 100 a month on top of the minimum payment makes a significant difference.
So fix the spending first, then attack the debt.
Yes, and once the debt is gone, that same money goes into savings. You build the habit with the debt repayment, and then you just redirect it.
That is actually a really clear way to think about it. I always thought of it as three separate problems: spending too much, having debt, not saving. But they are all the same problem, really.
They are all connected. Sort one and the others follow.
What about you? Do you have any debt?
I had some. A small personal loan I took out a few years ago for a car. I paid it off last year. It felt incredible, like putting down something heavy you had been carrying for a long time.
I can imagine. I think about what it would feel like to have no credit card balance, and I can barely picture it.
It is worth working towards. Even psychologically, the stress of owing money is real. You do not always notice it until it is gone. And then you think, why did I live like that for so long?
Can I ask you something a bit awkward?
Go ahead.
Do you know what some of our colleagues earn? Like Tom in the finance team. He seems to live very well. Nice flat, always going on holiday. I find myself wondering what he earns and then feeling bad about my own situation.
Ah, the comparison trap.
Is that what it is called?
That is what I call it. You look at someone else's life and use it as a measure of how well you are doing. But you are only seeing the surface. You do not know what Tom earns. You do not know if he has savings or debt. You do not know if his parents help him out. You do not know if he is spending money he does not have to maintain that lifestyle.
I never thought about that. He might be in debt for all I know.
Exactly. And even if he is not, even if he genuinely earns twice what you earn, comparing yourself to him still does not help you. It just makes you feel bad. And feeling bad about money does not make you better with money. It usually makes you worse.
Why worse?
Because when people feel financially inadequate, they often spend more, not less. They buy things to feel better, to feel like they are keeping up. It is a cycle. You feel behind. You spend to feel better. You have less money. You feel more behind.
That is definitely something I do. I will see something someone has and think, I should have that too. And then I buy it. And then it does not really make me feel better. It just gives me a momentary lift and then nothing.
That momentary lift is what drives a lot of spending. It is not about the thing you are buying. It is about the feeling you are chasing. And the feeling never lasts, so you have to buy something else.
So how do you stop comparing?
You shift your reference point. Instead of comparing yourself to other people, you compare yourself to where you were. Am I doing better than I was 6 months ago? Do I have less debt than I did last year? Am I saving more than I was 2 years ago? Those are the questions that actually motivate positive change. Comparing to other people just makes you feel either smug or inadequate, and neither is useful.
Compare yourself to your past self, not to other people.
That is the healthiest way to think about it, and it is honest. Because you know your full situation. You do not know anyone else's.
What about salary specifically? Do you think people should talk about what they earn? Like, openly?
I think they should be able to. In a lot of countries, it is almost taboo to discuss salary. But transparency around pay actually benefits most people, especially those who are being underpaid. If nobody talks about what they earn, people in the same role can be earning very different amounts and never know it.
That makes me uncomfortable because I wonder if I am underpaid. I have never really compared with anyone.
That is worth finding out. Not by asking colleagues directly, that can get awkward. But salary websites, industry reports, job listings for similar roles, those give you a good sense of the market rate for your position. And if you find out you are significantly below the market rate, that is information you can use in a conversation about a pay rise.
I have been meaning to ask for a pay rise for about a year, but I keep putting it off.
Why?
I feel uncomfortable asking for more money, like I am being greedy, or like they will think I am not grateful for what I already earn.
Asking for a pay rise is not greedy. It is professional. You are asking to be paid fairly for the work you do. If you have been in a role for a year or more and you have delivered results, that conversation is not just reasonable, it is expected. Managers expect it, and the ones who never ask are often the ones who get left behind.
I know you are right. I just find it really hard to put a number on what I think I am worth.
Then do not start with a number. Start with the research. Find out what the market rate is for your role. Then go into the conversation with data rather than feelings. It is much easier to say, I have looked at the market and roles like mine are paying between X and Y, than to say, I feel like I deserve more. One is a fact, the other is an opinion, and facts are much harder to argue with.
Go in with data, not feelings.
Always. And pick the right moment, not when your manager is stressed or in the middle of something. After a win, after a good project, when you have just demonstrated your value. That is when you have the most leverage.
Leverage. I like that word in this context.
You always have more than you think. The question is whether you use it.
Okay, I feel like I have a lot to think about. Budget, debt, stop comparing myself to Tom, ask for a pay rise.
That is a good list.
Which one do you think I should start with?
The budget. Everything else follows from that. Once you know where your money is going, you can make real decisions. Right now, you are just reacting. The budget puts you in control.
I'm going to do it tonight. Actually write it down.
Good. And be honest with yourself when you do it. Do not round down your spending or leave things out because they are embarrassing. The budget only works if it reflects reality.
No editing out the midnight online shopping.
Especially not the midnight online shopping.
Fair. Thank you for this. I came in feeling vaguely stressed about money, and I am leaving with an actual plan. That does not happen very often.
Money is one of those things that gets less scary the more you look at it directly. Most of the anxiety comes from avoiding it.
That is very true. Okay, budget tonight. I will report back.
I will hold you to that.
That was an honest conversation about money. Real feelings. Real habits. Real English. Now let's look at the key phrases. Here are the key phrases from that conversation. Some are about money, some are about habits and feelings. All of them are natural English you can use every day. Listen carefully, then use them yourself. Let's start with phrase number 1. Dip into my overdraft. This means using more money than you actually have. For example, I always dip into my overdraft at the end of the month. Moving on to phrase number 2. Lazy spending. Spending money without thinking, just out of habit or convenience. Now, let's look at phrase number 3. Pay yourself first. This means saving money before you spend anything. Simple, but very powerful. All right, phrase number 4. The invisible spending. Small expenses you don't notice, but they add up over time. Let's get into phrase number 5, carrying a balance. This means you still have unpaid credit card debt from previous months. Now, phrase number 6, the minimum payment trap. When you only pay the minimum and the interest keeps growing. Off to phrase number 7, the comparison trap. When you compare your life to others and feel worse because of it. Let's check out phrase number 8, keeping up. Spending money just to match others, even if you don't need to. Now moving to phrase number 9, the market rate. The usual salary for a role in your industry. And finally, phrase number 10, go in with data, not feelings. When negotiating, use facts, not emotions. 10 phrases, all from one real conversation about money. Now think about your own relationship with money. Are you a saver or a spender? Do you fall into the comparison trap? Try talking about it in English. That is your practice for today. Tell me in the comments, is talking about money taboo where you are from? And are you a saver or a spender? Be honest, I want to know. I read every single comment. How hard is it for you to speak about yourself? Find about the perfect formula on answering "Tell me about yourself" in this next video.